From the hills of Scotland to the flatlands of the Norfolk Broads, the next rounds were on the airfield circuit of Snetterton. Now the weather took a turn just before the start, so the tyre choice was a bit of a gamble, and Phil Bennett didn't even make the start due to gearbox problems.
Jason Plato still in pole, but all by himself. That's just what he'll be wanting. Red light lights to green. Plato away. So is Thompson pretty cleanly on the right. Van Muller up the middle. Look at Tommy Erdos. Erdos in the Lexus just jumps up straight past both of those Peugeots, which are running slicks, of course, on the front, making their life difficult. Up into Rich's first time. Erdos on the inside. Muller just holds him off. Erdos up into third. That's Plato back into fourth. Now who's in the lead? Well, Muller on the right. Thompson on the left. Coming into Sears now. Can he hang on to it? James Thompson runs deep. James runs straight on, just can't get the grip. Runs wide, still running though. That's really what Muller wanted. So Muller is now out in front. Big lead over James Thompson. Meantime, the production boys, as you can see in the smaller screen, have started. So Erdos on the right, Muller on the left, Thompson behind. Now there's Jason Plato darting down the left-hand side of the screen. What can he do? Just get, yes, through past Tommy Erdos. Now we're on board with James Thompson. Muller's run a little bit wide as he's regathered it up again. Well, talk about leaving the door open. That was the whole barn door.
He got it all wrong indeed, and Thompson all set to take advantage, but couldn't quite.
There he is, Graves, then Howell behind him. In the Renault Clio of Collard, then Kay behind him, then Jackson. Like he was carrying a little bit too much speed there, precarious, but he's just held on to it. Fastest part of the track, really honking down here. And got to wash some speed off for the left hand. Hey, watch out, Tom! That was Van Muller having quite a focusing moment there. And then Muller has tagged Kramer. Kramer's off. No, he's on. No, he's off. No, he's on. Ride him, cowboy. That is an official tank slapper. And Kramer having to regroup very, very sharply. What was that all about?
Well, his arms must have been moving faster than a fiddler's elbow to keep that focus on track one way or another.
Now, here's James Thompson's view. Look ahead through his windscreen. You can just see Muller there. And that's what James can see. Kramer going off and coming back on again and going off again. Just ducking the pendulum swing of that Ford Focus and timing it to perfection. But here's somebody else timing it to perfection. Look, Jason Plato gets through. Picks up a place through all of that confusion. Well, I hope Kramer hasn't got a headache, because I sure have. That was dizzying indeed. Graves, Howell and Collard still your race leaders, because they are in the production cars and they still head the field. Van Muller there in P9, working his way up in the touring car ranks, threading his way through the field. Now we're on the last lap. And this is going to be a very close finish, because Simon Graves, who is still leading production and leading outright, is being dramatically caught by this man here, Van Muller.
You can see the headlights of Muller's car just boring holes in the back of that Honda, but it's close, only 2 corners to go.
Coram, what can he do? There's Graves, there's Muller. Graves is cleared away from the rest of the production guys, as Van Muller has cleared away from the rest of the touring cars. Through the Russell S's for the last time. Can he hang on to it? Graves puts the power down. Muller does.
But a lot of squirt from the Honda. Vauxhall is not going to make it.
It's going to be very, very close. Body language from the pit wall tells you all. Great stuff for Simon Graves. Nicely done. The gentleman takes the checkered flag for the field. Well, was that nail-biting or what? That was the closest finish yet between the production and the touring cars, with Simon Graves in the production Honda just seeing off Van Muller, with Jason Plato third, Gareth Howell fourth. Good drive from Rob Collard, fifth outright and third in production, but it wasn't easy.
It was very, very tricky conditions out there, very, very slippery, and I could see the Tourers catching us on the Class A cars catching us on the last lap, and it's just the finish was like a horse race. It was just one by a nose, I think.
Wow, tough conditions out there, and still the long race to come. But before we get back to the racing, Dawn McDaniel joined Jason Plato for a day at the racetrack.
Hello. Jason Plato, our host.
I'm quite lucky because I can sleep anywhere. I can sleep standing up. In the very early days, we stopped in the back of a van.
Let's just look in his bathroom. Nice mulberry wash bag.
These girls that are draped all over the front of our cars, and the banter on the radio is very, very amusing.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it is.
Dolce Gabbana.
I don't like eating breakfast in hotels. There's 5 things on there, so that's looking quite good, isn't it?
This is Mr. Plato.
Good morning. I say it's all about his achievements and his tenacity to succeed that impresses me more than anything.
This is Linda, Jason's mum.
Yes, I do get very tense at the circuits. Try not to show it though.
We're now coming into the Vauxhall motorhome.
As the van's demonstrating now, we can come in here and put our feet up and hide.
Do you enjoy meeting all your friends?
Yeah, I do actually, yeah, I do. Look at the queue we've got, it's massive. I can remember doing this when I was a kid.
Do you like Jason Plato?
Yeah.
I can remember the Grand Prix at Silverstone in 1976.
Do you think he's a good driver?
Yeah.
And I can remember what I was like as a little lad.
Do you want to be a driver?
No one be in the army.
Vauxhall teammate Jason Plato. But a feature race, round 16, that promised much and delivered much. We'll join John Watson and, first of all, Charlie Cox.
Well, party time on the outside of the field, but here on the track, well, it's just about to get down to business. When you're hot, and these are the 2 hot guys, Jason Plato and Ivan Muller. Ivan, of course, winner of race 1. Jason, pole man for this race, as he was for the sprint race. Now, conditions are going to play a really big part here tonight because it's just stopped raining. It was raining a few moments ago. The track is wet. The drivers have got to work out what tyres to use because, remember, in this race, they can make pit stops and change, so maybe taking a punt on slicks might be the way forward halfway through. Either way, it's going to be difficult for them now. Dark, straight out of the pits here, into the darkness, rolling start, the whole field starts together, rather than a me. Well, this is the end of the warm-up lap, if you could call it that, with the track that greasy and wet. Snetterton Thompson on the second row, Tommy Erdos, and then Dan Eaves alongside him, and Steve Sober behind. As you can see, the track just absolutely glistening. Piper and Howell on the second row of the grid there in production, coming down through the Russell S's for the last time. The safety car will peel off. The field will back up and prepare for the start. Huge field of production cars.
And look at Simon Harrison in the lead Peugeot, I think deliberately holding those cars back to avoid any collision with the Tourers ahead.
Lights go to green, will they? Yep, they've let the start go in any case, and the touring cars are off. Then an almost separate race behind for production. Blaze of lights. Jason Plato leads, and Ivan Muller is right behind him. Then Phil Bennett, good start there, up into 3rd. Thompson 4th. Then Tommy Erdos in the Lexus brings up 5th. Dab under brakes, dark, wet, uncomfortable, feeding through Sear. Then the first of the production cars, Simon Harrison, I think, just backing everybody up. That's Roger Moen running a little bit wide there on the infield. You can just make them out as they go down the back straight. Just look at that view. It's like Close Encounters. The car's just streaking down the back straight in the darkness, in the rain, headlights ablaze. That's Plato with the blue light in his windscreen. Muller behind with the red light. Then the green light is Bennett, and the yellow light there, James Thompson. That's how we're trying to work it out. That's how their pit crews will work it out as they feed round for the first time.
And Phil Bennett looking very racy indeed going into the bomb hole.
Yeah, Harrison looking pretty racy as well, but managing to hang on to that lead that he's backed the field up for. Very big sideways move there by Ivan Muller.
He keeps using that very wide line round Coram. I don't know why.
I'm going to need feedback on tyres from now on, just when you think about it, Jace, okay?
Well, Van Muller can give you feedback. There's no grip at all as we just saw him sliding. But that was Plato's pit crew, desperate for information on when they want to change as we watch Gavin Piper monstering and then pushing out of the way. Simon Harrison muscling his way up to take the lead in production. Strong pass.
Strong pass, but I think Harrison aided it. He was a little bit tentative in the exit of Russell's.
Well, he's got some problems now because he's got a Honda all over him as well. We've got Harrison, Howell, and then Graves coming up into Riches. Graves taking the wide line round the outside. Simon Harrison hanging onto it. Gareth Howell tucking into the right-hand side. And then James Kay trying to make something out of that posse as well. Now, Ivan Muller, meantime, is now coming under some very big pressure from Phil Bennett. Bennett on a charge, big time. Round through Coram, Tommy Erdos, then Soper, then Eaves. Now, here's what they can't see. On board with Gavin. That's Gavin Piper. He was leading production. He's off. One step forward, 2 steps back.
I think Gavin Piper must be saying, please, somebody beam me back onto the racetrack.
Well, he sucked his way back up into 2nd place. It's only cost him a place. Graves now in front of him in production. not uncommon for Gavin to be spectacular on the track and leave it. That being another example of that. Still very much in touch and no real harm done.
Lucky for him, Howell wasn't close enough to take advantage, but he is giving Graves pressure.
Plato, Muller and Bennett up across start-finish line again into the darkness. Muller very, very close. No one pitting yet.
No, but also remember Phil Bennett running his car lighter than the two Vauxhalls ahead of him. He hasn't got the weight penalty that they're carrying.
Oh, and Ivan Muller there had a look down the inside of Jason Plato. I don't know if there was any contact there.
Well, it's Bennett's chance now. Low weight, good drive over the corner. Muller, watch out.
Yeah, may have really cost himself some momentum there as we watch Dan Eaves enter the pits.
This is going to be a full four-wheel change. Off for the wets, on with the slicks. Remember, only 4 people allowed to work on the car at any time. 1 per corner. This is going to take longer than the normal 6 or 8 seconds we've seen. Dan Eaves sits in the pits. Now the wheels are on the left-hand side. We can't see on the right-hand side. Well, there must be a problem on the right-hand side because this pit stop lasting much longer. In the meantime, a free service, get the windscreen cleaned, and eventually Dan Eaves won 25.6 seconds. Well, he's going to feel very disappointed indeed with that.
Yeah, it's really tricky reading the road from where I am. Okay, there's a Peugeot out there with slicks on, we'll tell you.
Phil Bennett through on the inside of Ivan Muller. Very strong pass in there through the bomb hole. He's absolutely on a charge. Now, we were hearing while that was going on, Phil Bennett picking himself up into second place, of course, the discussion between James Thompson and his pit crew, and they're using Dan Eaves as an experiment about slick tyres.
What they'll do is overlap Eaves' wet times over his dry tyre times, and when the dry tyre times go quicker, that's the point the Vauxhalls will all charge for the pits for their tyre changes.
Well, Dan providing a valuable service there, being the first man to chance his arm. Now, talking about chancing your arm, look at Phil Bennett go. That's Jason Plato in the lead, but Bennett is right up his exhaust pipe. Now he darts to the left-hand side. Big high-speed right-hander coming up. Is he through? Yes, he is. Phil Bennett up into the lead. Hot stuff. Bennett on the outside. Wow, I spoke too soon. Tagged him. That's Plato and Bennett has been shuffled into the infield, slithering across the grass. This is just going on and on and on. Now, Plato and Muller are going to be coming around here somewhere. They're through, he's back on, just missing the marshal's post in the process.
Now clearly Bennett's taken the position from Plato, but because he was on the inside, he runs wide on the exit. Plato runs up the inside, tags him on the right rear, and then just simply forces the Vauxhall sideways with the nose of his car. Now that is out of order, Jason. You should know that.
Well, obviously all the Thompson team eavesdropping has paid off because James is in to change those tyres.
It's a pretty early stop. I mean, I'm not quite sure whether the team believe they've got the advantage by changing the slicks so early, but James Thompson feels he can get away with it. He's going to have to be very, very careful indeed because the track is still wet. Even the racing line is still damp. Vauxhall stop. Well, it's not as quick as I thought it would have been. 23.4 seconds. Barely any quicker than Dan Eaves.
Well, we'll soon see whether it's quicker on the track, although James wasn't doing anything on those other tyres. Meantime, here's Phil Bennett limping back to the pits. He's wounded.
I catch Plato on a time of out of this race. He's going to suffer in a large way. Championship. Okay, Phil, can you keep going? The split is hanging off. Do you need to come in now?
I reckon he's so mad he could carry that car in. Into the pits now, threading his way back up.
I need to check the steering because it just wouldn't turn left.
Well, that's the reason his steering isn't working.
Damage on the splitter. Got it? Sid, force slick as planned.
Well, that's the problem.
Okay, will do, staying out.
The bodywork's worn the tyres, just cut through the side of the tyre.
I don't know whether we can do it. The bumper, just take the bumper off if we can. Just rip it off, okay? Change the tyres first and then rip the bumper off. Pit this lap, Jason, we're going for slicks. Pit this lap, we're going for slicks.
Well, this will be interesting. Just heard Jason Plato being called into the pits while Phil Bennett is still there being ministered to by his pit crew. We heard the calming voice there of Ian Harrison, Bennett's team boss, just telling everybody step by step what to do.
Well, I just hope that Phil Bennett has left the pits because if he hasn't, he'll drag Jason Plato out of his car with the seatbelt still attached.
Well, out goes Phil, in comes Jason.
And he'll be relieved to see that Phil Bennett has left the pits. So the Vauxhall guys go to work. It's a complete change. Wets are going to come off, slicks go on. And the track is now getting to a stage where it is quicker to run on those slick tyres, but you're going to have to be very, very careful indeed. One little error, or even in trying to overtake somebody off that dry line, you'll be in trouble. 19.2 seconds better this time from the Vauxhall team.
Yeah, Jason Plato will be well pleased with that. That's picking up quite a few track seconds over the Vauxhall of James Thompson and the Peugeot of Dan Eaves. Blazing headlights there. Jason Plato's car re-entering the pack, hooking a ride after the pit lane exit, round Rich's corner and off into the darkness.
And very easy to make an error just that first corner out of the pits, cold slicks. You can be off the track before you know it.
Well, there's Muller and Dan Eaves in the Peugeot right behind him. Now Ivan Muller moves to the right-hand side of the track. He's into pit.
So 19.2 seconds was the time for Jason Plato. He's running behind Moen. Now they're all running on the speed limiter at 40 miles an hour, so there's no big disadvantage to Miller. But now, bring the car up, stop it right on the mark. Let the Vauxhall guys go to work. Car comes up. Already the rears are off, the slicks are going on. He's going to be watching the clock. He wants to be out quicker. He wants to get out ahead of Jason Plato.
Big lick of fire there as well from those front discs.
13.3 seconds. Miller is going to be very happy indeed, and he should be taking the lead comfortably as he leaves the pit lane.
Well, we've talked before about braking technique. The fact that Ivan Muller is a left foot braker, and that's proof in the pudding as he weaves all over the track, getting no grip at all. Look, those brakes are still red hot. You could have toasted marshmallows on the brake fire he had when he pitted.
Certainly you can see the lick of flame, but also he just got the car offline onto the wet bit of track. No grip at all.
Now that bloke's bang on line. Jason Plato using every bit of the track before the rough stuff. And he needs to be bang on as well, because this bloke is ahead of him. Ivan Muller in the Vauxhall after the pit stops are shaken through. Muller still in the lead, but slipping and sliding and going to the infield. He's off. Now there's Plato right behind him. Muller's run wide. Plato's through.
Well, all that good work in the pits, Muller has lost it. Every corner on this outlap he's been in trouble. The car's been all over the racetrack, and look at it still through the bomb hole.
Yeah, it's not driving, it's crisis management.
Now let's look back at the S's. Muller, he's the master of driving in snow and ice and Chamonix in the wintertime. This is only wet at Snetterton, and he gets it wrong yet again. Now look, runs wide on the exit of the S's, and Jason Plato has made up the deficit that was resulted during the pit stops.
Well, he might be struggling for grip, Muller, but it still is the Plato and Muller show. They are very, very clear ahead of James Thompson in third position. Now on board was fourth place man and production leader Graves. Where's that track, Simon? It's out there somewhere. Gareth Howell just slipping down the inside of the Focus. Graves switches back. Howell runs a little bit wide. Running onto the back straight. Made it stick though.
He did, and also the Honda, normally very quick in a straight line, is getting dropped by the Ford Focus.
Now this is the Revit straight. Let's watch the performance difference. Nothing in it as they drive under the bridge, then back into the glare of lights. And that was Steve Soper. Hi, Steve. Bye, Steve.
Well, Steve obviously didn't realise there's a corner coming up, or he just simply misjudged it, locks up, goes on the grass, and drives back on the track again.
Yeah, luckily he made himself a clean re-entry just ahead of Gareth Howell again. Could have been very sticky, jetting across the infield like that on the slippery grass. Let's talk about slippery grass. Dan Eaves says if you can spin, so can I. Copies his teammate Steve Soper, who went off too deep, exactly the same place a lap ago. On board with Dan.
As Dan Eaves coming to the S's, all of it clumsy and under braking, locks up. All of a sudden, round and round we go. And there is another Peugeot just to add to the ignominy.
Well, lucky pirouette there, didn't tag the wall. Great news for Dan. Now, side by side, here they go. There's Plato and Muller, teammates. No one bothering with the track whatsoever. Banging over the mud. Now, Plato has won out of all of that, and, well, Muller's had a Phil Bennett custom job done to the front of his car.
Amazing, Plato's car is undamaged. Miller's car gets the front spoiler pretty much ripped off it. Here we see them both coming to the S's, both miss the corner altogether, cut across the grass, and there you see, well, Kramer's trying to get out of the way as quickly as possible as Muller cuts across the front of his car, and you can see the front spoiler torn to shreds. That's not going to help his race.
Back up across the start-finish line with the remains of his Vauxhall.
Ivan and Jason keep taking each other off, man. You're closing on them, amazing speed. Keep it up.
Well, there's the word from Ian Harrison and Vauxhall telling James Thompson Just hang in there. Oh, more contact. That's Phil Bennett. Around again. What an evening. When you got nothing to lose. And Phil Bennett turned on the infield, but still running.
Well, it's been an eventful evening for Bennett. Let's look again as they come into the S's. Now that's just careless. The Honda on the left-hand side of the screen should have seen the quicker car coming down. Tags the back of the Vauxhall. Round Bennett goes. 9 minus a headlight as well. A car that could have won this race with low weight. Basically, his race is over for the evening.
Well, he just keeps on banging around there, slipping and sliding. Obviously, a real head of steam up there as well. Just think it was from this point a few laps earlier that Phil Bennett launched himself into the outright lead of the race. Tommy Erdos, much stronger showing in the Lexus, getting better race by race.
And that's a car I think by the end of the season is going to be challenging the Vauxhalls for outright victory. It's been a slow starter, but as the season progresses, it's getting impressive.
Tommy's now moving up behind Simon Graves, the second place man in production in the Honda Accord. Erdos on the right, Graves on the left. And just look at the squirt in that Lexus, plenty of horsepower.
It certainly has. Remember also the Lexus rear wheel drive, which I think in these conditions is an advantage.
Tommy just sliding through there. Now there's Simon Harrison, Matt Jackson up behind him.
You're the fastest car out there, Jimmy. You're the fastest car out there.
Plato just sliding through. Word from the pit wall there to James Thompson, you're the fastest guy out there. Well, he's the widest car out there. Matt Jackson just slithering wide there. Good recovery.
He did well to keep the car in control, back on the track. Didn't really lose anything at all.
Simon Harrison just getting right in the thick of it there with those two Vauxhalls. This is very busy down the back straight. I think he got a little bit of a nudge there from Jason Plato. Plato, Muller through, Harrison on the right-hand side of your screen. Everyone ducking and weaving down the back straight. James Thompson's in the thick of it, and you can see he was the fastest man out there. Was he? What? Now Plato's run wide, and Muller's through this time, and Thompson is through as well. I can't keep up with this. It's all go.
Well, we didn't really see what Plato did. He just seemed to get it all wrong. But here's our chance to look at it from James Thompson's point of view. But look at Muller. He got a real run on Thompson coming down into the S's. Both cars scrubbing under braking, but Plato gets it wrong. He overruns the corner. Muller cuts back. Thompson's got a grandstand view of it, up into second place, and now pushing Muller.
Well, it never rains but it pours. There's the confirmation, if you needed it. Muller, Thompson, Plato, Soper, and Erdos. And it's been shuffling as many times as you like. James Thompson, who was struggling before the last pit stop, is really putting these tyres to good use. Look at all of those brakes. Thompson obviously has the same sort of driving style. Glowing bright red in the dark, both sets of fronts.
And that's the effect of left foot braking. Let your foot ride on the brake pedal, the brakes stay red hot.
Well, the left is on the brake pedal, but I'll tell you what, the right is flat on the floor as they drag each other down the back straight, and James Thompson is through. Thompson's out-dragged Muller, just snicks it down the inside.
And that's good motor racing. Muller recognised he was outdone into the corner. He didn't bash into Thompson. He allowed him to take the lead. That's correct motor racing.
Well, Jimmy T's car looking very straight and clean and orderly, actually. Stayed out of trouble. Said before the race he was going to run a percentage game, just see what he could do, and he's done it. He's paid off so far, at least. He's in the front. Now, there's Tommy Erdos coming under some pressure from Dan Eaves. Eaves on a charge.
Well, Eaves has had a pretty miserable day so far. Maybe this is going to be a better ending for him.
Out through Coram, fast part of the circuit. Hey, and he's off! That's Eaves wide. Very big hit. Off backwards into the wall at Coram. Big spin around as we saw. Marshall's over there quickly. You can see him moving in the car. Should be fine.
Yeah, I think so, but it was a very big impact. Me and my big mouth. I thought Dan Eaves was going to see the evening out fairly comfortably. Well, that was far from comfortable. A big impact. Rear, front car spreads the tyres all over the place. At least he's walking away, other than being bruised.
Yeah, here's another look.
I don't know why, he just comes around the corner. He's wide again in the middle part of the corner. Of course, it's wet there on slick tyres. The grass is soaking wet. Car hits the barriers so hard, throws it up in the air, spins it round, lands and keeps spinning. Really tops and tails the Peugeot, and there's not much of that car. It's going to be salvageable.
And the worst thing is that was a new car. Now on board with Dan, let's watch what he was doing. Tommy Erdos ahead.
Now the grey part of the track's dry, the dark part's wet. Dan just gets those two left wheels on the wet part, and there you see, it just goes ballistic.
That was an explosive accident indeed, but we have seen the most important thing of all, and that was Dan walking away clean and unhurt. Very important indeed. Now, James Thompson, Muller, and then Jason Plato. That's your order in the top three. There is Jason Plato. The man on the screen, and there's another one off. That's Collard. Collard in the Renault. Boy, was that close.
Well, I mean, it's just strange. Collard's gone off almost in the same way as Eaves went up. I wonder, is there something on the track we're not seeing?
Well, I'll tell you what, Rob's eyes must have been on springs as he went past Dan Eaves' car there. And there's the production leader, Gareth Howell. He's run too deep at the end of the Rabbit Straight, but he's back on the track and still in the lead. That's very lucky stuff.
Yes, he was, but Simon Graves is right now almost at the back door of that Ford Focus, and Howell is going to have to really focus himself to keep the lead of his class. But also coming through Coram, we've seen two cars off on the outside of this corner, and that Peugeot and the Renault are in a really dangerous place, and I'm surprised we haven't seen the safety car out on track.
Okay, Ivan Muller and Jason Plato, it's back on again. The battle for second. You can just see the blue light of Plato right behind the red line in the windscreen of Muller's car. Muller's run wide, Plato's back through again. Oh, talk about a topsy-turvy race. Thompson's ahead of them, but that was a strong pass.
It was, but it makes me wonder why they have a spoiler at all. Muller's is mangled, Plato's is perfect, and they're still running at the same speeds.
Okay, well, there's a new aerodynamic discovery we've made this evening. There's James Thompson. That's the gap. He's the fellow with a clean car, got plenty of straight panels to rub. These two, not a straight bit left to bang into each other. Plato now just in front of Ivan Muller, but it is nose to tail, in as much as Ivan's still got the nose to run into the back of Plato's car. Now here's the battle for third in production. Matt Jackson and Simon Harrison. Simon in the red Peugeot, Matt in the yellow Focus. Through Coram, down into Russell. Steaming on the brakes, Jackson looks down the inside and over the curbs, and he's tagged the back of Harrison. Harrison's off.
And that's the second time Harrison's been tagged in Russell this evening.
And a rough and tumble day's racing assignment, still circulating, but now in P4. These two are circulating as well, and this is the fight for P2 in the touring car ranks. Ivan Muller, very, very rough and ready indeed, using all the track and a little bit more there, trying to stay in touch with Jason Plato. Feeding once again around Coram, and he's running wide, and there's Dan Eaves' car, and that is just too close. Oh boy, and this is going on and on and on. Finally pirouettes around on the grass, back again. It ain't pretty, but there's plenty of colour and movement.
And there's a bit less on the front of that Vauxhall Astra. Let's look and see. Muller tries to go around the outside of the Honda, gets on the wet bit. Look how close he gets to Eaves' Peugeot. Then the car goes into a fit of the head staggers, goes every way possible. Then he just lights it up, heats the front tires back up, and I think that's sheer frustration.
Well, that's the second near miss past the stricken car of Dan Eaves. We saw Rob Collard only a couple of laps ago slide sideways, just missed the front of it and park, and now Muller.
Well, Coram Corner is very marginal on line. If you get a wheel off, you're in trouble, and that Peugeot is a very dangerous position. It should be red flagged, or at least the safety car brought out.
Well, there is Phil Bennett, and behind him, the race leader. Well, there is your red flag. Red flag and a checkered flag as well. So, end of the race, checkered flag, that is confirming positions and ending this race as well. Obviously, one spin too many past Dan Eaves' car.
I think in these circumstances, too much at risk. Prudence pays the result.
And there is the result. James Thompson, P1, Jason Plato and Ivan Muller 2 and 3 respectively, after a ding-dong race-long clash. And look at that, Gareth Howell, 7th outright, his first production win.
Very strange race. I mean, we were nowhere near the pace to start with. I don't know what the problem was. We lost 7 seconds to everybody very early on. And so I thought, well, the best base we're getting for some, it's not working for us on the wet, so we'll get in for some slicks. And I think we were first of anyone to stop for slicks, and I think that paid off in the end. But obviously there's a bit of argy-bargy going on, I'm sure, at the front of the grid. But yeah, just sneak through, and I'll take them as they come at the moment.
I received contact from Ivan. He punted me off. Well, he took me off. He gave me 2 large whacks. But the first time I managed to stay back in the lead, we both went off on the right-hander. On the left-hander at the S's, and the next time he just gave me a punt, and that was it. I was in the boonies.
There is 2 different shunts. A shunt where you don't lose a place is the one I give him, or there is a shunt he give me sometime when I lose the place. That's the big difference between the both.
What happened with Jason again?
Yeah, I don't know what happened, you tell me. 1 minute I'm in front and the next minute, you know, he's turned me around. I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen the video, I'm sure by now. Everybody will have seen what's happened. it's a bit silly, really.
Phil just dived down the inside of Pier, lost it, and started to come across the track towards me. So, you know, I'm sorry, mate. I'm not going to lift off. I had to keep my foot hard in the throttle. Otherwise, had I've lifted, I would have spun as well. He just bit off more than he could chew, and he's a bit upset because I turned him round. But, you know, in those situations, you've got to look after yourself.
Well, he's obviously doing that, and it seems to be paying dividends because Jason Plato still leading the championship. Just 4 points ahead of his teammate Ivan Muller. James Thompson also in touch there. But Jason and Ivan, well, their team is leading the Touring Teams Championship.
Don't know what to say. Really don't know what to say. Never dreamed I'd win a touring car race. You can't describe it when you've been working as I have for so long. And the money we've put into it since I was sort of 8 years old, it's unbelievable. It's what I've always wanted to do, win a touring car race.
Well done, Sunshine. Well, he might have had the stuffing knocked out of him, but Simon Harrison has actually got back on top in the Drivers' Championship. James Cade, who was leading, just falling back into second position. And in the Teams' Championship, well, Gareth Howe's team is moving up.